Let's start with the Democrats. I understand the Sanders numbers are not only good, it seems like he has a broader base of support perhaps than Secretary Clinton does.
The difference in who is actually giving is very clear, at least as we look at the number of people that have donated. Bernie Sanders passed the 1 million mark in terms of individual donations. Small dollar donors, grassroots donors, that's what he's been able to tap into. Now, Hillary Clinton is still absolutely winning the money battle in her first 2 quarters in the race, David. She's brought in $75 million. But her targets are high-dollar donors, and that's what led her to the $28 million this quarter, $47 million last quarter. She goes with the traditional fundraising technique. You get a high-dollar donor, you hold a fundraiser, they all max out to the tune of $2,700. Bernie Sanders has a different model, and I think what's been most interesting not only is his ability to kind of tap into progressives, tap into liberal roots, but get them to donate and donate at a very high level. He now has the money to run a national campaign, at least through the early part of this contest. It's a matter of whether or not he can take that money and actually pivot into that campaign, David.
Phil, talk to me about the Sanders fundraising apparatus. I imagine that it's probably not as big as Hillary Clinton's. What does it look like, and do you see him on the trail devoting a lot of time and attention toward fundraising?
No, he doesn't at all. He doesn't have a super PAC. He believes that they are bad for politics, so he doesn't have one aligned with him. And look, there's a very good chance that that ends up hurting him at some point. Hillary Clinton has an outside group known as Priorities USA that is supporting her, has $25 million pledged and in the bank, and can attack pretty much whenever they want. Bernie Sanders won't have that. What he does have is kind of the building of a grassroots army. Kind of think Howard Dean back in 2004, where liberals, through online engagement primarily, have raised on their own. It's been a groundswell, and he's taken advantage of it. One of the interesting things, David, though, is raising money is one thing. Turning it into a very real functioning campaign is another. His team is a team that hasn't been relying on real polling data, hasn't been relying on kind of organization and ground game going forward. That's something Hillary Clinton has in spades right now. His ability to match that, at least to a level where he can compete, I think is the most important step forward now.
Let's look over at the Republican side now. I know we don't have as much data on how the Republicans have been doing fundraising-wise, but a big headline, of course, is that Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, has raised a tremendous amount of money. Here again, we're talking about somebody who is perceived to be an outside candidate, now rising in the ranks.
Yeah, $20 million last quarter. And keep in mind, David, especially with a field that has as many candidates as the Republican field currently has, the summer months are a tough 3 months to raise no matter what, even if there's only 2 candidates in. When there's 15, 16, 17, it becomes exceedingly difficult. Ben Carson's ability to bring in $20 million over that period, $31 million since he entered the race right now, really underscores that not only is he a good polling candidate right now, he's a candidate that can last as well. Now, one of the big questions, and we don't have the filings yet, that I think everybody wants to know is how much did it cost for him to raise that amount of money? Last quarter, they spent a lot on raising money, but $20 million, a base of support that has grown over the course of the last year and a half, even before he entered the campaign, through hundreds of speaking engagements. It includes the Tea Party groups, it includes evangelicals, it includes pro-life groups. That's there for him. So now he has that base of support, good polling numbers heading into Iowa and New Hampshire, and he's got money, too. He's a real player now, and this just backs that up.
Let me ask you about Jeb Bush, a guy who's buffeted by a lot of super PAC support. Obviously, we don't have numbers from his campaign yet, but how's he doing when it comes to fundraising?
The expectation is, and again, you look at a slow couple months here in the summertime, but he raised about $11 million last quarter. The expectation, according to people within his campaign right now, is that he will go above that this time around. Likely, almost certainly less than Ben Carson. But the difference between Ben Carson and Jeb Bush is, as you mentioned, David, it's what's on the outside. Jeb Bush's affiliated super PAC, obviously they cannot coordinate with one another or even speak to one another, but there is a super PAC explicitly supporting him, raised $103 million through the first half of this year. That will be there for him. They're now starting to invest in early state ads in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. That's to go along with the Bush team starting to get out there as well. There's been some concern about lagging poll numbers. Jeb Bush has consistently been behind Donald Trump, behind Ben Carson, now behind Carly Fiorina. It's the expectation both on the super PAC side and the campaign side that the fundraising up to this point has been robust enough to fund early ads. Those ads will presumably start to tick those numbers upward. I will say, David, that if those numbers don't start to move by mid-November, early December, you're going to have a lot of the people who have given a lot of money very nervous. But his team is confident that those numbers will move.